Welcome everyone to the first episode in the Girls In podcast series. I'm extremely excited, not only by today's guests, but the guests who are lined up for the entire series. They come from all over the world, different industries, backgrounds. They're bringing different stories and experiences to everyone listening. It's a project which is very much in its sort of infancy, and I really hope you can all follow the journey, especially through these podcasts and any sort of updates on our social media. This series specifically is all about kind of strong female influencers in their specific industry. They'll hopefully give you a sort of insight into their world, their achievements, and more importantly, their sort of journey into where they are at the moment, really. So, yeah, looking forward to sharing all this information with you all and seeing what kind of happens along the journey. So, let's jump straight into the episode today. We have a pretty cool guest on the show, all the way from the States, and it wasn't until I really dug deep that I think, well, this individual needs more than just sort of an episode slot. I think I need to give a sort of full-on intro, so I thought I'd break it down into sort of highlights of what this individual's achieved. She's currently the founder and CEO of a company called Modsy, previously a partner on the investing team at Google Ventures, the founder and CEO of a company called SimOps, which was acquired later by Autodesk in 2010. In 2009, she was named one of the Business Week's best young entrepreneurs. In 2012, she was featured in a book, Creating Innovators. And in 2014, she was named one of the Silicon Valley Business Journal's Women of Influence. So I hope I haven't missed anything else. I think if we could all welcome Shanna Tellerman onto the show. How are you, Shanna?
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no worries. So where are you located at the moment? I'm in drizzly, rainy London, so please shine some sort of sunshine into my life a little bit.
Well, I think I'm in the last hours of sunshine here in San Francisco. The fog is starting to roll in.
Love it. Okay, so let's go straight into the kind of conversation. Tell me about the story behind Modsy and what makes it so unique.
Yeah, well, so the story behind Modsy is very personal. My husband and I moved into an apartment in San Francisco, and I think, like many people, we started that process thinking this is going to be really fun. I can't wait to design my home and buy furniture, and we were finally getting rid of like all of our hand-me-downs and IKEA furniture. Um, and the first thing I did was go to Pinterest and I started building this board and kind of flipped around some retailer sites. And, hours later, I'd gone down that like wormhole of Pinterest and I came up and looked at my board and I sat there sort of staring at my board and staring at my room. And I was like, I still have no idea what to do. uh, So what went from being really kind of fun and exciting weekend after weekend eventually ended up in like being super frustrated and us like arguing over what we should actually be doing and buying and somewhere along the way giving up, having bought like two things and having our place feel pretty incomplete. And I had this moment where I was looking at a physical catalog, like a West Elm or Pottery Barn catalog, and I was like, I wish that I could have this shopping experience. Like, I wish I was looking at these beautiful images where everything was staged, but it was all just staged in my house. And I could just shop from this like catalog-like experience of my own home. And that was the light bulb moment for me. I had been in 3D graphics for a very long time, and I knew that a lot of the pieces were coming together to make that possible. And I felt like that is the future. Like, we will be shopping from replications, like digital replications of our actual spaces, and have the ability to shop from like these beautiful images that are essentially our space, but all online and fully shoppable.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It's really exciting. I mean, I was looking at some videos, kind of on your website and some sort of the news which is around Modsy at the moment. Am I right that Modsy is actually a tool being used in the new show Cyrus versus Cyrus? That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it is. It just launched last week, so we're now on Bravo.
That is really cool. I mean, for a simple idea to now be showcased on something kind of like on a show, really, it must be a pretty cool moment.
Yeah, it's every time we've seen that, we've watched it as a team, and when we see the logo pop up on TV, we're like, wow.
Absolutely love it. So what's exciting and what's happening in 2017 at Modsy?
Yeah, this is a really exciting year. It's really, I mean, it's all about growth. So we've been growing in terms of volume of customers coming in, retailers on the platform. We're dealing with all of the growing pains that come along with that, all the things that start breaking that you didn't anticipate were going to break as you grow. And yeah, and just like the team size is growing, and now I'm just kind of trying to make sure that we're prioritizing the right things and making the experience really seamless, while continuing to figure out like how do we reach new people and more people.
Definitely. Do you ever think are you just based in the US? Are you looking to kind of go further or?
You know, we actually have customers all over the world. We
Amazing.
have from the beginning, and I think it's just the world that we live in now, where you launch a new thing, a website, and anybody can come to it, and anybody can use it. So there's nothing preventing anybody from using it. Now, retail-wise, the retail products that we choose and select, and we put in our library at the moment are U.S. focused. So the people using it from other countries are using it simply as inspiration, and then they will shop it at local retailers, but eventually we do plan to start to integrate international retailers. Probably not in 2017, but maybe in the next year or two.
It's on the roadmap then. That's good.
Yeah.
Great stuff. I mean, so obviously I was doing a bit of kind of research on yourself, and noticed kind of your time at Google. So I suppose I'd love to find out more about your time at Google. I mean, for the outsiders looking in, is it really as cool as what we all think it is? Kind of how was that experience?
Yeah, it was definitely a very almost like random decision to go to Google. Um, I was at Autodesk, who acquired my last company. Like I said, my background's 3D graphics, building products, and the investment team reached out to me very out of the blue, as I was thinking about starting my next company, actually,
Wow.
in about 2012. And I had never been thinking of, I hadn't considered going into venture capital at that point or investing, but I did feel like that would be a really interesting perspective to have as an entrepreneur, to be really kind of sitting on the other side of the table. And then, yeah, and then, the interest of going to Google and seeing like, what is it really like to work at Google? And then, the brand name Google Ventures was really kind of early but emerging at that point as a strong venture capital partner. So I chose to join. Didn't know anything about what I was getting myself into. Realized very quickly that I really do love building things. So it was very hard to be the investor and meet all these awesome entrepreneurs, but not get to build anything with them. They do the building, and you kind of the asking questions and coaching. And it was I mean, Google is like a very cool place to work for sure, like lots of perks and lots of nice benefits, things like that. But for me, that's not what makes me wake up every day. Like I wake up to create things and to put things into the world. And so even though it was like a very cool place with so many cool perks and great people and lots of, smart ideas everywhere, I was like itching from almost like month two, to get back to building something myself. And thankfully, the idea for Modsy was kind of like brewing in my mind at that point.
That's really cool. It sounds very interesting, kind of being surrounded by entrepreneurs, kind of 24/7. What was one entrepreneurial startup that kind of stood out, sorry, during your time there, would you say?
Oh, for sure. The one that stood out the most was actually one of the last investments I made, and helped do the deal for, was a company called Jet, that was eventually actually recently acquired by Walmart. So Mark Laurie was originally had founded a company called Quidzy, which was diapers.com, and I think soap.com and some other things, that was bought by Amazon. So he was a very experienced entrepreneur. He really understood commerce. He had this grand vision for really shaking things up and creating a new model for online commerce, through Jet. And I met him probably 5 or 6 months before we ended up closing on the deal. So I really got to understand what he was building, how he was thinking about it, kind of the brilliance of the model that he was putting together. And I just thought he was a really impressive entrepreneur all around, just like a role model for somebody who has built tremendously successful companies, understands kind of all the mechanics of business, understands disruption, and can really have like a very forward-thinking vision while maintaining execution in the very near term. And so it was definitely very influential for me as I was leaving Google Ventures and thinking about starting Modsy.
Yeah, definitely. I can imagine, especially kind of, it's always that when you have the ideas in your head and you're working with kind of really amazing people, you want to ask them so many specific questions, like, should I go and start this startup, or should I kind of go into this idea that I have and stuff like that. So I bet when you're surrounded by these people, it probably just firms up the decision, like, yep, you know what, I'm going to go out and do my own thing as well. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
I suppose when it comes to sort of female influencers in this kind of industry that we're in, kind of startups, tech startups, what are your thoughts? Do you think there's enough diversity? What would be your overall sort of experience and thoughts on that?
No, definitely not enough. I think especially not enough at the role model level. I think that it feels like there is a strong emergence of female entrepreneurs and female founders, and at least interest in that. I'd say, there are other minorities that are even more underrepresented right now in tech startups, especially. But definitely, I feel like when you look around and you look at a handful of very successful, big scaling companies that everybody looks up to, most of them are still run primarily by white men.
Yeah.
And very, very little diversity there. And I think, if you're a woman that's going out and starting something right now, it is hard to look at any of these kind of business leaders and people who've been very successful building these businesses and see yourself in them. And I do think that's a problem, that's a gap, and that does prevent some number of people probably from even trying. And for others, it makes it harder to kind of figure out how to pave the right path and what kind of leader you eventually want to be, because you don't have a clear vision of the kinds of leaders that look and feel like you.
No, 100%, I agree with that. I mean, do you think more could be done? I mean, I wouldn't know about kind of investment from the government within the US, but specifically, I know in the UK, kind of in London, there's a lot of investment heavily in kind of women who code, women in technology, especially kind of in the education level as well. So when they're starting in schools, do you think there could be more done by the government in the US to kind of get more kind of young girls like interested in technology and startups and that sort of kind of environment?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that this is it's a problem along so many spectrums that you can't solve it by just doing one thing alone.
Yeah.
But absolutely, I mean, I think it does start with education. It starts very early. It starts with encouragement, supporting along the way. Absolutely, making sure that there's funding for people interested in either kind of gaining the skills and the learning and or starting their first companies, and then all the way through to kind of starting to address some of the bias and subconscious bias that goes on across the industry. But I think we need a lot of these pieces to fall into place and to change, to truly see a large change holistically.
Definitely. What's kind of fascinated you the most when it comes to the progression in technology, would you say?
Just broadly, what's fascinating me?
Yeah. Whether it's some new technology which is being created at the moment, or
I think for me, it's really I am really interested in the realm of computer vision, and specifically, some of the things we touch on at Modsy, but this reconstruction technology, the ability to kind of take imagery and to turn imagery into maps and data and understanding what's in the images in a way that we've never known before and we've never been able to do before. For me, that translates into things that are spatial. And I think for autonomous vehicles and robots and other things that are coming into our world, that same spatial understanding is going to be extremely relevant. Yeah. Of course, there's other learning that is much more visually based and kind of tagging, understanding what's in images, visual recognition, and search, and that's like a whole interesting category as well. But to me, it's really kind of the part that takes imagery, and especially imagery in the world, and then starts to kind of extract out of that imagery spatial information.
Amazing. Yeah, very cool. I suppose if you could give your younger self any advice, what would it be? It doesn't have to be about industry specific or business or anything. What would you say?
I think I would say that it generally all works out. I think, I still do it, right? Spend a lot of time worrying.
Yeah.
I was stressing about a lot of the small details and is it gonna work? Am I gonna get there? Will like life work out? And you hit for sure obstacles, but it does. And I wish I had spent less time worrying.
Yeah, very true. It's funny because like even when you're kind of in the business world, you still worry, and like as much as you're when you're younger, you're like I feel like when you're younger you have less worries, but as the more kind of you get absorbed into the business world, I think your worries obviously become a lot more heightened. So yeah, no, that's a good tip. Cool. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Shanna, for kind of joining the first episode of Girls In. It's really been a really interesting sort of conversation. And yeah, good luck with everything at Modsy, and definitely be following your journey on the for the next sort of year or so.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you, Shanna.